I can't understand what the developers are thinking here. They took the glass cannon hitting school, definitive hitting school of Wizard101, and they took away its lethality, but didn't give it any health or anything or resist or compensate for that. So I'm just thinking here, like, what's the point in playing Storm anymore? What's the point of having barely 8,000 health if I'm not going to be doing damage, right? Alright, what's going on everybody, it's Liam here, and welcome to today's video on the channel. And in today's video, I want to talk about school identity, and I kind of feel like it's been misplaced the past couple of years in Wiz. And I want to talk about where it used to be and where it is now, and offer my opinion on a couple of things, and obviously the facts as well. Because I feel like a lot of people don't really know what their school identity is anymore. Because a lot of these new updates, things have just been shifted around, taken out of the game. And I feel like a lot of players are confused, especially a lot of returning players, or even some newer players who start the game and then they finish the game and their school is completely different. But before we get into that, guys, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe. I do post every single day, if not every other day, and I'm trying to get to 5K subscribers for 2024. This channel is awesome, and you're awesome, so I would really appreciate it. So yeah, first thing I'm going to talk about is school identity at the start of the game, and I'm going to offer a couple of examples versus school identity at the end of the game. Now, I think very good examples for this are cards like Shift, Dimension Shift, Steel Charm, and Steel Word. So for example here, if we look at Myth, Dimension Shift, it's basically like a trap counter. That's kind of what it's used for. At least you can trade your blades, your shields, your traps, all to your minion. But Myth never was a school that was supposed to, you know, counter traps, which is what this is primarily used for. Or we look at Shift as well, right? Myth, now at max level in 2023, is not supposed to be countering overtimes, but they have Shift right here, which literally counters an overtime and provides value. Shatter is the one exception. Myth is a shield counter school, and this is obviously a shield counter that is really solid, so that does actually fit Myth's school identity. Then another example is obviously Ice's Steel Word right here. It's accessible to everybody now, which, you know, kind of is dumb in my opinion, because I feel like if there's a card that's exact same as the, you know, the trainable one, especially a card like Steel Word where it's only for Ice Wizards, I think that's kind of stupid, and that takes away from school identity, in my opinion. That's like having a treasure card King Artorias, I feel like, be available to everybody, and I really don't like that idea. I feel like that should only be available to the school that it's literally on. I don't think every other school should have access to it at the same number of pips, like obviously the Steel Word example here. But yeah, Steel Word, for example here, is basically, you could argue, a counter to shields, but nowadays, Ice is not supposed to be countering shields, right? Nowadays, according to their Shambo Wheel, which, again, that is what school identity is nowadays, is their Shambo Wheel, Ice is supposed to be a trap school, like a soft trap school, and it is the definitive shield school of Wizard101. So you have a spell like Steel Word, right, which steals a shield. Now you could argue, well, it steals a shield, so it's kind of school identity, but I don't know. A lot of people just don't think it should be like, you know, an offensive move, you know, because you can steal a tower, which basically gives you two turns of tempo, and it's an offensive move and a defensive move. People don't think I should have this because it's offensive. Or you could look at something like, you know, steal one heal over time, right? Ice is not supposed to counter heals, right? That's Death and Storm's job on their Shambo Wheel, or even Balance, but it's not supposed to be Ice, right? This is an old legacy spell that does not fit into the new curriculum of the newer age of Wiz. Then obviously my last example here, I'm going to use Steel Charm. Fire, which is a overtime and trap school right now, is not supposed to have any blade synergy at all. However, early on at the start of the game, you learn Steel Charm, which again is like Steel Word. It's like an offensive and a defensive move, kind of, sort of thing. And every player can have access to this via treasure cards, which again, I don't like. I really wish treasure cards costed more pips if they're going to be accessible to everybody in general. But yeah, that's just my examples, and I hope you guys kind of understand where I'm coming from with this. The old Wiz is just not what the new Wiz is, and I think they might potentially audit some of these spells. It would make sense for the grand scheme of the new Wiz theme they are going for, but let me know if you guys would like these cards audited to follow the obviously 2023 version of Wiz or not. But yeah, that's the first thing I wanted to bring up, was basically the old versus the new in the Wizards card game, obviously. Now, next thing I want to bring up too is going to be very specific things, and you could argue this is subjective, but I feel like there is, you know, some value in what players feel. And for a long time, you know, I think 5th Age, all of 5th Age, I think I could be wrong, but Fire for all of 5th Age was basically super bad because it had the worst overtimes, when Fire is the overtime school of Wizard101, right? So for a long time, Fire mains just haven't had like a really solid overtime. You know, we saw Frostbite, which is arguably still the best overtime in the game right now, or Poison, which is really good, but Fire doesn't have, you know, cards like either of those right now. You don't have a card that just hits and does a lot of damage like those cards. You had Old Mander, which did work that way, but it was a little bit overpowered at the time for some other reasons, so it got nerfed and audited, and now it is not good anymore because obviously it doesn't have that first bit of damage to remove a turn and counter shields. I think a lot of Fire mains have been suffering from this from a long time now. A lot of good Fires had to trap stack for all of 5th Age, and now it's honestly gone to the point where Fire is so good, at least in the meta, that you can overtime and play well and play around getting countered and still win games, which is pretty freaking cool. But my point is here, for a very long time, schools like Fire here in this example, they just got their school identity completely robbed and shafted, and it took such a long time to even get that fixed or addressed by KingsIsle. Now, another very important thing I want to bring up here is actually something a bit more recent. You guys might know this, but Myth, this update is really, really bad, and I want to talk about why. Now, I'm not dissing your school if you're a Myth main. I'm just obviously talking about, you know, objective facts for most of this video. All of Myth's minions got PvP banned. Now, if you don't know, Myth is, again, the minion school of Wizard101. You have the most minions. They're supposed to be the best minions, obviously, and you have a lot of diversity with your minions, which is really, really cool. But literally all of them are not usable right now in PvP, and the only one that is the Yaga minion, but that thing doesn't do anything because it's kind of like disabled right now. And also with this recent update with Chronomatic Betrayal and Delusion, which I personally don't mind that much. I kind of wish they'd be nerfed for the other schools that are not trap orientated, like, so literally every other school, but, you know, Fire, Ice, and Myth. I wish they were a bit lower percentage for Delusion and Betrayal. But my point is here, a lot of the other schools are just using, you know, Myth, Betrayal, and Delusion now as effectively as a Myth Wizard, if not more effective in some cases, which just takes away from the, you know, I feel like the flair of playing Myth in the first place, right? If I can just do this stuff on another school and do equally as good, if not better, on, you know, obviously some certain cases, why would I play a Myth? Then combine that with the fact with, again, minions are not, they literally are just banned from PvP. You cannot use them at all. Myth is just in a weird place right now where it's literally, it's nothing. It has no school identity at all. Like, I think it's the trap school, I guess. That's it. But what about the minions, you know? What about the minions? What about the betrayal and the delusion, you know? So I just, again, it kind of feels like on KingsIsle and like the school identity, it's like, I don't want to say it's not being valued, because I'm not trying to, like, you know, sneak this any of the devs or, you know, undermine any of their, you know, their work, their grind, or anything. But I just feel like when you take out such large parts of school identity, again, like, you know, making Fire having the worst overtimes as the overtime school, or taking the minions away from the minion school, you know, it leaves a lot of players feeling very upset with the developers, because they feel like, wow, my school just doesn't work anymore. My school feels disabled, you know, dude? I don't like that. I feel like I have to play a different school now. And this is the same thing as Storm as well, but it's not as apparent as Storm because you have to obviously play a lot more on a Storm. But Storm right now, at least in PvP, I'm not really sure. I mean, I PvE on my Storm, but I don't do much PvE anymore. But in PvP, Storm really struggles to do damage right now, and that's for a couple of reasons. Comparatively, when you take trades, it's just not that good. And then objectively, Storm lost Pierce with this recent update, I believe. So you took... Again, I can't understand what the developers are thinking here. They took the glass cannon hitting school, definitive hitting school of Wizard101, and they took away its lethality, but didn't give it any health or anything or resist or compensate for that. So I'm just thinking here, like, what's the point in playing Storm anymore? What's the point of having barely 8,000 health if I'm not going to be doing damage, right? I don't want this school anymore, you know, dude? And personally, me as a Storm main, like, I don't play this school anymore. It's so bad at max level PvP because of how big the stats are and how, you know, scared, I feel like that's the best way to put it, how scared KingsIsle is to make it and put it on the same playing field as other schools. Death right now in the meta is basically like Storm 2.0, as I call it. It's literally what Storm should be with their stats. They have the same damage as Storm, they have more Pierce than Storm, they have more resist, more health, perfect accuracy, perfect pips, yada yada. They literally have everything. So KingsIsle's philosophy of, oh, you have to always give up something doesn't work here when obviously stats are so wildly imbalanced. You say you don't want a school to have everything, or you're so scared to buff Storm because it'll be good, but then why do you do that for the other schools, right? So I think that's a serious problem in KingsIsle's design philosophy, at least for max level and obviously their gear audit they did. I just think it's a problem because, again, it's the definitive, like, hitting school of Wizard101, but if I feel like I'm doing damage more efficiently on another school, I think that's a serious problem when my school is supposed to be all about damage and hitting. You know what I mean? That's my point here with the Storm one. Now, so far, a lot of this video has been negative, but I do want to point out something that is positive, and that's actually going to be Death. I think Death is the one school that has actually kept its school identity pretty much from start to finish. I could be wrong, correct me in the comments below if you'd like, but I think Death has kept its school identity throughout the whole game, and Death hasn't ran into a problem where other schools can drain, or, I mean, no, other schools can't really weakness better than Death because obviously Reader is pretty broken and stuff like that, but you know, Death is just really, really good right now, and other schools just can't drain like Death, and they have the best drains, right? Like, you have TC Vaughn, which is obviously above damage for Pip, which is its own problem. You have Scarecrow, you have Wraith, right? And all these other schools just can't dual school to even try and compete with the Death draining, right? Death just gets such good stats, and when you drain on this school, it's just good, right? So I think Death is one of, you know, the schools that they did right in terms of school identity, and I can be really happy for Death mains, even though Death right now at max level is really freaking good. Now, with balance, obviously balance was not touched with the recent audit. KingsIsle's not really sure what they want to do with balance yet, I'm pretty sure, so I'm not going to talk much about that, but I guess briefly I could offer my opinion here on it. I kind of wish balance wasn't so good at doing literally everything, you know? Balance can literally do whatever they want and spam the same moves over and over until they win, and I think that's just kind of dumb in my opinion. I don't know if I'm gonna get roasted for that, but I just think balance does A, damage too efficiently and too spammy, and B, they counter too easily and their counters are just too good and efficient. The last thing I'm gonna bring up in today's video is gonna be Life. Now, Life obviously is the healing school of Wizard101, whether you're a PvE or a PvP player, but a lot of things people have noticed with this recent update is Storm is actually like a healing school now, and Storm has some really good heals that actually competes with Life's healing per pip when you're looking at cards like, you know, Dark and Stormy, when you're looking at cards like Hungry Caterpillar. You know, it just looks like Storm's healing is a lot better. And I feel like a lot of life mains just feel like, well, what the heck? Like, my healing isn't as good as a Storm's healing right now, you know? And I think a lot of life mains just really, really do not like that. I don't think this one is as much of a huge deal because obviously life is literally like the best school right now and Storm is like the worst school right now. But I did want to bring this up because I know there's some life people that see Storm cards and they're like, dude, that's crazy. I wish I had that type of card on the healing school where I think it should be, you know, dude? But yeah, I just wanted to briefly bring that up here at the end. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover in today's video. I'm not sure if it's going to be a bit ranty or not, but I just really wanted to get my point across. And I know a lot of the community, you know, has been... I feel like a lot of the community will be able to connect with this video as well. That's kind of why I wanted to make it, is because I've just heard so much throughout all of 5th Age. And I want to make a video like this, obviously addressing player concerns and my own concerns as well. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Again, be sure to leave a like, rating, and subscribe if you haven't already. I really, really appreciate it. And yeah, without further ado, I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching this far, and as always, take care, guys.